Wholeness family. It is DeAndre Sage here with Spirit Trek. And are you an old soul? I am. Have you been here for a long time? 1 lifetime, 2 lifetimes, 3 lifetimes, 2,000 years, 10,000 years? Let's find out. So for the purposes of this video, when I say old soul, I'm referring to someone who's had multiple lifetimes in this planet, on this earth, as a human being. And in many cases, someone who's had not just a handful, but many lifetimes, hundreds or thousands of years of life experience in this human form. Now, of course, as a soul, as a spirit, you can inhabit many different things and different expressions of existence. But for the purposes of this video, human form and even in some animal form is what I'm referring to mostly. I say this because the soul, the eternal soul, is, well, eternal, it's infinite, and there is no beginning, there's no end to it, right? So that's why it's important to say in human form on this planet, because we're all old souls, we're infinite beings, right? So that's why I say that. So here are 5 signs to help you figure out if you are indeed an old soul. And chances are, if you're watching this video, you probably are one. So number 1, you are wise beyond your years. You are a deep thinker, somebody who has a wealth of knowledge and wisdom within them, even from an early age. Me as a little kid, 10 years old, 13 years old, I felt like I knew a lot. I had a lot of information, and I always thought that I wasn't being valued for what I knew or thought I knew, right? Now, of course, as you grow older, you realize, well, dang, back then I didn't really know anything. But comparative to my peer group and comparative to even those who were older than me, a lot of times, a lot of wisdom was always instilled within me, and I was able to express that, if not verbally, I thought it, and I had it within me. So if this is the case for you, you might have people say to you, oh my God, you're so smart for your age. You're so wise for your age, or you might even have times where you're having to parent or help people who are much older than you with things that you think are simple or things that you think should be common sense. But really, it was common for you because you came into this lifetime already having access to that wisdom, to that experience, to that understanding of certain concepts and ways of living and being. So that's number 1. Number 2, you've seen it all before. It seems like you've watched the same movie over and over again, so much so that you can even almost predict what's gonna happen next because, well, it's already happened. And the way that we are as humans is that we are living through the same cycles because of how we've been programmed, the way that our behaviors have been synced up, and the way that we are basically living the past. We're not moving forward in the sense of expanding into new ideas, creativity, expressions of selves, human evolution. This is due to our thought processes, our languages, the way that we interpret reality. So you'll begin to see the same things repeating themselves over and over again, the same kind of wars, the same buildups, the same kind of disasters, the same kind of messages being put across, the same kind of conditioning. Now that's all negative. Of course, there are always also positives, but obviously the negative occurrences in human history seem to have a more defining mark on the spirit and on the DNA. So you begin to realize, hey, this is very familiar. Even how people talk, how people act around you, social constructs, you're like, wow, this is very, very familiar. I've seen this before. Numero 3, isolation. Perhaps you're a hermit, a loner, or you don't always fit in with your peer group or age group. And this is natural because many times you come to this world in a different wave with a different knowing. And because of how you're thinking, because of your interests, because of your priorities, the people that you're around might not vibe with you necessarily. My whole life, that was the case for me pretty much, where, I always fit in. Like I had people that I could hang out with, and I always had groups. I was cool with everybody. But at the same time, I just never really clicked. I was never fully comfortable in those social environments at school or wherever it was because I just wasn't interested enough. I wasn't pulled enough, intrigued enough by what was being talked about, the lifestyles, the way that we, interacted. It wasn't authentic enough for me. I was like, oh, this is cool, but let's talk about the universe. Let's talk about, what's going on in nature and something else, like whatever, metaphysics, right? And that just wasn't what was happening in high school or even, college. So that can be a sign, indeed, that you are an old soul. And even at very young ages, you see kids who are always by themselves and kind of, here and there. But that's normally because they just aren't willing or even able to fit into what is in or what is cool at that time, either because they don't care or because they realize that it's just not good for them. So yeah, number 4. This one's a little bit of a iffy one, depending on how much you remembered coming into this lifetime and how confident you were in what you remembered, and also how influenced you've been by society and societal standards. And that is an existential crisis. Becoming unsure of who you are, or realizing that, well, hey, I think I'm more than what I've been told. And that's where it stems from. You realize that the person that you are, your identity, your ego is very limited, and that you realize, wait a minute, they're not telling me something about myself. Who am I really? What am I really? What's actually going on here? And that's you trying to remember what you have within your spirit memory and your DNA memory, pulling out those remnants of the past lives, the past memories, and it's conflicting with your current lifestyle or with what you've been taught or surrounded by. This is important. And my message to you, if you're going through it right now, is yes, you are indeed a powerful being who's had many, many experiences before this. And chances are what you've been given by society is just a very narrow and a limited version of what you truly are. You're very powerful. And move forward in strength and confidence because you are worth it and you are indeed going to have an amazing life as an old soul, because that is an advantage, not a disadvantage. Remember that. Number 5, the final one, but one of my favorites. You have an appreciation for Earth and all of its inhabitants. You appreciate the beauty of the world, of the nature, the animals, the plants, the people even. But yeah, sometimes people can be the hardest thing to appreciate until you begin to have that self-love and know that all this stuff indeed, right? But many old souls you find are vegans, or people who are philanthropists, animal rights activists, humanitarians, all these things, because they have an appreciation and a compassion for Earth. And as they've seen much of it and they've had many experiences and memories of it, a deep felt connection to it because they've been here for so long, it is indeed a home to them, to us. You begin to notice, hey, like, this thing is pretty cool. And why are we hurting it? Why are we killing it? Why are we so aggressive towards Mother Earth, Mother Nature, Pachamama, right? Doesn't make sense. By the way, this is a stick. Like, I love this thing. It's so cool. But anyways, and many of us will go out in nature. We will, go out in the woods, in the forest, the beach, wherever we can to really connect and reconnect with that self, that larger, grander self, which is Mother Earth, which birthed us and has nourished us for many years and many lifetimes. And that is perfectly fine. That's perfectly normal. Embrace it. Don't be afraid. And I encourage all of you who feel this way to get out in nature as much as possible, connect with animals, connect with people. Just build that connection and build that love and compassion for this planet. Those are my 5 signs that you are indeed an old soul. And my final message to you all is that we are moving into a very important time in human history and human evolution. And old souls are very instrumental in this time, because we'll be the ones who have the memory and the, I would say, advantage of being the leaders of the evolution, being the pioneers of this human evolution. So I encourage you that in this time of change, in this time of vast potential, that you move forward in your confidence, in your strength, in your love, and your compassion, because you'll be needed in this time of human evolution to assist others to be the example of what human evolution could look like. To reach back down and say to those who may not have been in this vessel for as long as you have been in this vessel, hey, this is what you can do. This is what we can do as a collective. This is what we are moving towards. And then you live in your truth and your empowerment and your vibrations of love and balance and wholeness. And all this history. And the cycle of time as we know it will begin to shift from a circle to an ascension. And with that being said, much love, family, old souls. Please subscribe to my channel as I'm constantly sharing, growing, and loving. Check out my new website, spirittrek.com, which will be in the description below. And I also have a new free ebook, the 7-step mind, body, and soul detox. So get that on my website as well. With that being said, wholeness.